deceleration drills. So our staple for looking at deceleration when we're back to running is just looking at a 10 meter or so entry into stopping on a line and assessing how we stop on that line. It's really important. Change direction is fundamentally underpinned by our ability to decelerate. So there's no point looking at how well we can change direction in cuts and turns if we can't effectively decelerate the body and decelerate it equally and as effectively across both limbs if we're looking at it from the rehab perspective. So when we're looking at decelerating, there's a few things we want to look at. We don't want to look at specific joint positions because people will vary. People will vary in terms of their knee angles, ankle angles, hip and torso angles. But some markers we can look at to distinguish, is this kind of good, is it effective, and some work-ons. And then also from a rehab perspective, is it looking even side to side? So it might not look great maybe compared to someone else's, but if we're removing those imbalances side to side, we can be more confident in that injured limb's ability to produce that task in sport, and also not put too much demand on the other limb. So if we've injured our left leg and we're not sorting out these imbalances, we don't want to be doing loads and loads of decels to change direction, not having sorted it, because that'll just be getting our right leg to do even more of the work. So if I'm using this spot, this marker here is the line to stop on just before these markers. I'm going to do an entry little jog, 5 meters, and I'm going to look to stop on this line. So I'm going to jog in and then stop, and it's going to be resembling something like this in this position here. Again, I'm not saying to get into this specific position, but the things we're looking for into a decel is how we enter and kind of how we finish, and you kind of want to reset. So with the entry, we want to start to lower our body height, our center of mass. So if I come in really tall here and then just try and stop, my body weight's going to be high, and it's going to be hard for me to decelerate that quickly, and I might fall forwards. If I can come in low, I'm already starting to decelerate early, so I come in here and I start to sit low, it's much easier for me to catch that. Other things we're looking for is the torso angle, and think of like hip height. So similar to that one about bringing our center of mass down, but thinking kind of specifically at hips rather than just folding. So we want to come in and sit that bum down and then fold that torso forwards rather than hunching, so that I can be in an effective position there to kind of do something, do a sporting action change. I can either from here push back off, maybe to the side or backwards. From here I could push and turn to go back that way, or I might be in a good position to then, because I've got those options, but I can still re-accelerate forwards. So they're the main things. The other ones we're looking for is in terms of pressure in the foot. You'll probably make contact a little bit with like the heel first, because you're coming in at this angle and slowing down, but the pressure wants to be around that mid-foot to forefoot. You don't want to be too toey, so you might fall over and put too much pressure on the knee. You don't want to be too heely, because it's going to be a big braking force, or too much, putting a lot of stress through the leg. So you want to come in and go, weight is around here in the foot, in the laces, so then I'm able to push off in any direction when it's in that midfoot. Okay, so if I speed it up, push off, there. And you start to see that I'm getting into these kind of nice angles, like resembling low positions in a single leg squat and a split squat, and that's the positions we're strengthening, and add plyos from there to be able to re-accelerate or do something with. So when we get into our change of direction, if we can do this and slow down our body more effectively, we know we can be confident of going into that and having to just do a cut, 45-degree cut, or a turn, or whatever it is we need to do in that task. In terms of regressing and progressing this, you're going to start with like a 5-meter jog in. It's just about the speed really, less about the distance, just jogging in, getting that stop, alternating the stop between sides so we're not overdoing each side. And then as you progress, go to a 10-meter entry, start to build up that speed a little bit, and then once you really progress and you're hitting maximal speed and stopping, then you can start to look at maybe a 15 or a 20-meter entry, going to a maximum stop. And about that point, if it's looking really symmetrical, really strong, after a longer entry at full speed, you'll be looking really confident to start doing higher intensity changes of direction. Okay. Thing, of course, for the coaches is to be looking at, and the athletes as well, is to be looking at the video footage of differences side to side, and looking at the last leg, but also the penultimate leg, the second last leg. So that in this position here, this is the last leg. This step here is the penultimate, and that's seeing how much force, because that will take a lot of the force before that one finishes the decel. This one, what you might see in injured limbs, if this one's the injured one, you might see a more vertical shin. You don't want to load that leg as much. And this one is actually taking loads of the weight before actually this one doesn't take too much. And on the other side, you might see that this one's really happy on that penultimate step, and then this one doesn't have to take as much. Sorry, can take more on that last step.